Welcome to the fifth and final segment of Unit 6, looking at market failure and the role of government. And in this segment, we look at inequality in 6.5. So inequality, this idea of unequal distribution of wealth and income, we've seen this time and again. The idea of one family making a significant amount of money and others not so much, right? We see the divide between rich and poor. So in 2003, the average American made $66,863. Now, everyone is obviously rich, right? What's wrong with the average? Well, we know that many people make a lot more money than that, and others make a lot less. And so what does this tell us? Nothing, really. It doesn't really tell us anything in terms of the income inequality that we have in terms of that income distribution. So how do we measure it? Well, we're going to look at it in this segment using the idea of the Lorenz curve in terms of what's happening here. So this is what we see. So there is a segment here in the chapter notes. You can click on this and take a look, a study on the gap between the rich and the super rich. You thought I was going to say the poor there, right? But no, it's the gap between the rich and the super rich in this model. And we use the Lorenz curve in order to address this. So this idea of income distribution basically divides the income that's being earned by different families into 5 categories, what we call quintiles. It does this from poorest to richest, okay? So each group is going to represent 20% of the population because it's 100%, 5 different groups, 20% in each, essentially, what we see there. So if there was perfect equality, the idea is that 20% of the families should earn 20% of the income. 40% of the families earn 40% of the income. You get the idea in terms of what we're looking at there. But as we know, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and there aren't equal distributions. So the government is looking at this using the Lorenz curve to see what is the actual distribution and how far is that from the idea of redistribution in terms of where it should be, where it would be in terms of being in those quintiles. Now, again, this is very political, as you can imagine, in terms of, well, where is the, is that fair? Is that capitalism? And we're not going to get into that debate here, but we are going to look at it in terms of what do we see in terms of the numbers. From an economist's point of view, what are we looking at here? And what we're looking at is that the poorest 20% are in the first group. Essentially, they are 5% of total income, and essentially a total of $5 in this model. You're going to see group 2 is a total of $10, 10% of total income. Group 3, $15. Group 4, $25. And group 5, the richest 20%, are going to have about $45 of that $100, of that 100% that we see. So we see the poorest 20%, the poorest quintile, essentially representing $5 of 100. We see the richest 20% with a total of 45% or $45 of the $100 that we see there. So we stack this up on the Lorenz curve in terms of what's happening here. Perfect equality would look at this curve as upward sloping, and we would have each model in terms of what we see there on that upward sloping line. But the Lorenz curve says, well, wait a minute, this isn't exactly equal in terms of what we're seeing here. And so there's a bowed out essential distribution to this model, and it creates this gap, and this is the gap between rich and poor that we talk about. What is perfect equality? Well, it's the idea of that upward sloping curve, 20% in each category, but we don't see that here. What we see is that there are a lot of people in the middle, there are fewer people at the very top, and there are fewer people at the bottom, but there are a lot of people in between. And it is not perfectly equal, and certainly not equally redistributed in terms of what we see here. So the size of banana shows the degree of income inequality in terms of what we see here. Yeah, because it kind of looks like a banana. But the idea here is what we are seeing is what we call the Gini coefficient, this measurement of income distribution. Now, area A divided by the area that includes A and B, essentially is the size of the banana, and this is telling us what type of weight distribution do we have in terms of rich and poor in our country. And so a higher number means you're going to have more income inequality. A lower number means you're going to have less. in that sense. So a lower number, you'd have less inequality, which is what you aim for, is a lower number. A higher number means you're going to have more income inequality, and that's what we see. Now, after distribution, in terms of what we see here, if the government is stepping in terms of trying to provide for those that they need extra help, you notice at the bottom that we've kind of split that banana in half, and that's because of transfer payments, food stamps, unemployment insurance, unemployment benefits, other different types of government transfers that are benefiting people in this regard. That's what we see here in that after distribution category. So aiming for more equality as a result. Now, which countries do you think have the most inequality? This may surprise you in terms of what you see here. Again, we're aiming for the lower number, and the higher number would mean greater inequality in that map. And so one of the greatest we see in terms of these Gini coefficients is South Africa. Notice the United States is over on that right-hand side. And what are the countries that are on the left-hand side in terms of that redistribution of income that we talk about? Well, we see the Czech Republic, Slovenia, Iceland, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Sweden, a lot of the European countries in the EU and whatnot, because they have more wealth redistribution in those models. So this is what we use the Lorenz curve to show what is the level of income inequality in those countries, and so we see the vast differences in those terms. Now, let's just take a quick spin through the types of taxes that you'll need to know in terms of what we're looking at here. Mandatory payments to the government in order to help them with programs like redistribution of income, unemployment benefits and other subsidies and tax breaks, that sort of thing. Taxes are helped to pay for those types of programs. Why does the government tax? Well, you without taxes, as we know under the Articles of Confederation, you have no central government that has any power. So to finance those workings of government, you really need to have taxes. These are also things like highways, a national defense program, and also to fund programs like Social Security and welfare in terms of what we see there. But it's also to incentivize or disincentivize economic behavior among individuals and firms, businesses. I mentioned the tax on cigarettes in terms of raising revenue, but also discouraging smoking, trying to encourage people to walk away from those, and also to try and pay for the costs of healthcare and other costs to society as a result of people who do buy those items, those cigarettes, and partake of them. So 3 types of taxes we talk about here. Progressive. This is the idea that the more you make, the more they take. Okay, that's probably the easiest way to remember it. I always tell students progressive taxes are the more you make, the more they take. And that is the idea that the rich people are taxed more than others. That's the progressive model, okay? That is what we have in terms of our federal income tax system. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that is what it is. Proportional taxes will be a flat tax. This is essentially all income groups are paying the same flat rate. So you may remember the Pizza King that was talking about the 999 plan. Herman Cain, he passed away of coronavirus this year, but he used to talk about the 999 plan. Everybody pays 9% taxes. That was what he was advocating, was the flat tax or the proportional tax. Everybody pays the same proportion in terms of percentages. So everybody pays 20% or 9%, I think was the number he came up with. And then we have regressive taxes, and this is a tax on the poor. When you raise sales taxes or you raise taxes on food, poorer people pay more in their overall income in order to pay for those types of items. It's costing them more out of their overall income in order to pay for those taxes and pay for those goods. So regressive taxes are definitely more of a tax on the poor in terms of what you see there. A consumption tax, a sales tax, all of those would be regressive taxes in terms of what we see here. So again, you can pause the video here and take a look in terms of which tax do you think this falls under, and kind of check your work in terms of those types of taxes. But to review, you can also pause the video here in reviewing what we've talked about in these 5 segments covering Unit 6, Chapters 17 and 18 in the online textbook, Chapters 19 and 20 in the hard copy textbook, looking at the idea of externalities, public and private goods, and the issues of income inequality. Hope you found this helpful.